Hello, this is Imani Latif, creator of Peep Game Comics, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Black Comics universe presented by Peep Game Comics exclusively here on The Experience. Please help us out by hitting share and give us a like and follow. Then make sure you tune in to our original programming 7 days a week. The Black Comics universe streams every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on all DSPs. That's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and the Twitter. And tonight I am joined by the most epic Mike Watson, the creator of Freestyle Comics, the publisher of Short Fuse Media. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I love the intro to the show. That thing looks good and good music.
Man, no, that says a lot coming from you because you are the notorious for putting together cool video drops, man. I gotta step my game up. I've been wanting to. I gotta get like you, and I'm glad I was able to peel you away from your Kickstarter season. Everybody seems to be in Kickstarter mode, so absolutely. I'm glad. I appreciate you giving me some time today. But yeah, for real quick, because we're gonna. So I want to. So I always gotta remind myself that everybody doesn't know who you are. I'm always jumping in here because I know you. Like I'm always talking to friends, so I have to remind myself to make sure I give you time to introduce yourself. You know what you do. So I'm gonna give you like a quick 30 seconds to tell people who you
are. No problem. I'm Mike Watson. As you said, the founder of Freestyle Comics and the publisher of Short Fuse Media Group. I do a couple streaming shows called Agents of the Nerdy and Chat and Draw. My flagship book, Hot Shot, is coming to a Kickstarter near you very soon. I do some after-school teaching with art programs and things like that. Freelance for Marvel Comics and Upper Deck through their sketch card division. Been doing a lot of work since the pandemic actually has hit. But I'm the self-proclaimed most enthusiastic person in comics, and I dare anybody to challenge me on that, especially with comic book conventions coming back. I'm very excited about that. I got booked for a show
already. Okay. See, this is going to be. I'm going to make sure this is a very educational video because anybody who's never, created a comic book or interested in getting into the actual business of creating comic books, you're going to learn about pitching your comic from this video. You're going to learn about marketing your comic book from this video. You're gonna learn about the creative process from this video because you cover so much ground with what you do. I'm very excited to share this conversation because if you're just now getting into this, or you think you might want to, create not just one comic book, create a company around what you do. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very informative. So I want to start with Hot Shot, right? Okay. Because I've told you, like, Hot Shot for me is almost like it's our kind of like our Spider-Man.
Okay.
And I want to give you the opportunity to give your famous Hot Shot pitch. This is like you're the one, the top 5 comic book pitch artists, and I want to make sure everybody gets to hear this epic pitch. So lay it on us.
All right. I'm not pretending I'm actually at a convention table.
Yeah.
Everybody? How you doing? I'm Mike Watson. I'm the founder of Freestyle Comics. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my flagship title, Hot Shot. Hot Shot's a young man in college trying to prove to his girlfriend he's not cheating on her without revealing he's a superhero, but not get kicked out of school because he's never there because he's a superhero. So 10 issues of that out right now that you can buy and dive into and get into all that goodness and stuff. And we have about 3 more issues in production that's going to be released actually very, very soon. So, yeah, that's the pitch for the real quick get in there.
Man, yeah. So, it's interesting about that particular pitch. It's like it's such a popular entry point for comics, right? Because like Jen, one of the the creators actually of the experience. Like she asked everybody who's doing a program on the show to she asked us who was our favorite Marvel character, right?
Right.
And I was racking my brains, and the first character that came to mind was Spider-Man. And it's because I think as a geek, as a nerd, right? Like people that, you know, someone grew up reading comic books, he's actually one of the few characters that I actually identify with immediately, right? Like his origin story is my origin story, right? It's like,
right.
And so I find it that, you know, a lot of creators use that motif of, you know, the young geek in high school or in college, you know, gains superpowers and changes his life around. What is it about that motif that draws you to it?
Well, it's funny because I actually had to like really.
Aside from the fact that it's based on a lot on your life, like Mike Watson in the his name, Hot Shot goes to CCAD. He's based out of Columbus, Ohio. Like you are. This is a lot of this is, you know, not necessarily word for word, but
it's funny because actually I was just wrapping this up or trying to break this down a little bit earlier this week. For me, I'm like you. Spider-Man, I identified a lot with Spider-Man because a lot of things that Spider-Man dealt with was things that I can actually grab a hold of. So when I first got into comic books, you know, my mom was that person that I was seeing hustle and, you know, moving to make sure bills was paid. You know, I mean, we didn't have a perfect home. Bills were late. Sometimes we didn't have food. We were struggling with stuff. You know, electric would get cut out for like a day or something like that. My mom would have to make some moves to get electric cut back on. So the hustle and life of Peter Parker was the closest thing I could immediately attach to the comic books because Peter suffered consequences of real life, not just getting punched in the face or getting thrown through a wall. He suffered real life circumstances. I've experienced real life circumstances, so that was an immediate relatability. And you know, he's just a regular guy. You know what I'm saying? He's just a regular dude throwing on the suit, struggling to get by, but he's still out here trying to save everybody or whatnot. Taking it to, you know, making the comic book of Hot Shot. I never got diagnosed or anything, but I think in college, my sophomore year, I was the closest I could ever think that I was to actually depression. Like I would go out and do my job as a resident advisor. I'd be all smiling. I'd be all energetic, doing everything I'm supposed to do. And then the moment I got into my dorm room and shut the door, I'd be crying on the floor. I was going through, at that time for me, you know, young love. I was going through what was the most crucial breakup of my life or whatever. And I needed an outlet. I needed some type of way to, you know, handle that and deal with it. And the more I thought about it, the more Spider-Man chimed with me. Like, you know, Spider-Man always gets, well, not in today's stories, but he always got back with Mary Jane. No matter what, everything worked out and they got back together. And I've always wanted to be a superhero. What geek did not? Or, you know, some geeks wanted to be villains. But I used to always kind of see myself in that light and think like, what would it look like if the hero never got back with the girl? Like how does the turmoil of that affect his life, affect his heroics and things like that? Like we never get to really see them go through that type of thing because we know at the end of the day they're going to get back together. Well,
right.
No spoiler, Carla and Mike are not getting back together. That's not the point of this story. And so putting
we know that, you know, that a lot of people are very excited to hear that, but we're not gonna dwell too much on Carla, but I interrupted, so go ahead.
You're fine. I know how you feel. You're passionate about it. It excites me very much. But
no, you know what it is? Just real quick, is that I don't think most people that use that particular motif, that the whole Spider-Man, you know, foundation of storytelling, you know, the idea was for Stan Lee was that it was all about her. It was all about the girl. That was his starting point. But I noticed that a lot of people don't realize that she was such a strong motivation for Peter. And I like the fact that you picked up on that. And it's like in your story, you know, his relationship, Mike's relationship with Carla and Hot Shot is a huge central part of the story. And regardless of how we as fans might feel about the whole relationship, I think I actually enjoy the fact that you made that such a important part of the story.
Thanks, and a lot of that credit goes to Victor Dandridge as well. He's the forefather to lay down the foundation to FSK and what we're still following to this very day. So, but it was something that helped me kind of write that story, the original story or whatnot, and try to figure out how to deal with those things. And it made me feel better. It made me cope with it and understand it, and see my responsibility in that breakup or whatnot, which is why I fight the fans so hard on it when they go against Carla. And everyone says I have bias because I'm invested in it, and I think that's awesome that so many discussions about that one particular topic has happened or whatnot, and that's what I want. That's the relatability of everything that everybody or a lot of people that have enjoyed Hot Shot enjoy the art, they enjoy the action, they enjoy the story. But the fact that the most popular part of it is the relationship, the entanglement, and what should have been done versus what was done, that makes me so happy as a creator. And I know it just lights Victor up because he scribed that conversation, he scribed that relationship. So the fact that people are attaching that, my biggest thing in comic books is that when creating these stories, you can't just have a hero or villain that's just super bombastic, that's dope with all these powers and glorification and stuff. I need someone to attach to. I can attach to Peter because Peter has faults, because Peter goes through something. I want Spider-Man to win because Peter's life sucks.
Right.
I'm subconsciously cheering for Spider-Man to win because he's Peter and he needs to get a win. And that is why I think that's why one of the reasons why I enjoy that people like the book, because they are attached to that. Everyone has an opinion about it, and it creates great dialogue. But then it brings people right back in to read the next issue.
Right. And then I'm gonna pick up on that part about basically bringing in Victor as a writer, right? So there's a famous quote, Mike Tyson's, right? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? So
yes.
When you think about the creative process, you have the advantage of not necessarily working in a vacuum, right? So when you have an idea, right, you're bringing it to Victor as your one of your writers that you work with. You're bringing it to Danny as your editor, and it's can you walk us through that creative process of because most of us, especially indies, I think most of us are working kind of in a vacuum. We work where we have this idea, we put it on paper, we hand it to an artist, and they, their job is to, illustrate what we put on paper. But you have your creative process is closer to more of a professional creative process where, you're presenting this to a writer who has their take, and then you put it in front of, not just you as an artist, but, you have other illustrators, they have their take, you have editors, you have a team. And I think that creative process is a little bit different than what most people might, imagine the comic book process to be.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons why I really do enjoy talking to you, because you understand all the ins and outs to all of this stuff. The working relationship between Victor, me, and Danny Cooper is something that has literally grown over 20 some odd years. From when I first met them in college. And a lot of people don't know this, but literally Victor and I almost came to punching blows over a writing section in the book that we just did not see eye to eye on. And Danny Cooper literally had to come in between us and break us up. Me being very sheltered, whenever I had my sketchbook in college with Hot Shot stuff, it stayed like this.
Yeah.
I didn't, people were looking at it. I was right over their shoulder, like, all right, you done? You done? All right, yeah, get that back. I want you to get that to memory. And Vic kind of broke down those walls and got in there. And he finally admitted, because Victor's actually, he wrote the foreword for the Volume 1 trade that's coming out here this month. And he finally admitted that it was all a scam so he can get to write the book. And I was like, 20 years later, now you're ready to admit the truth. Victor took what I had, he liked the character, he saw the artwork or whatever, and he wanted to see the story. And unwillfully, somehow, for some reason, that dude has a mouthpiece. He can talk you out of your shirt on a cold winter day. But he came back and read it, and he was like, "There's some good stuff here, but overall, it sucks."
And, real quick, JD, can you pull up a Hot Shot cover? Any of those covers that we have?
Yeah,
there you go. That's Hot Shot
right there. That's actually the Volume 2 trade cover that'll be dropping with this month's Kickstarter as well.
Okay, cool.
So
all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So Victor wrote the script for like the first 5 issues of Hot Shot, but instead of just writing, what's up, Ace Blade? Instead of just writing the script, he wrote it like a book, like an educational book, where it was telling me about climate, rising action, climax, falling action, character voices, and all this stuff. And I read all of that, and you know what I took from that?
What's that?
You want to write Hot Shot? Damn all the education. damn trying to teach me how to write. This script you wrote right here is fire, and I want you to write the book. He's like, no, I didn't write it. And Vic, I didn't write it, to write the book. I'm trying to show you how to write so you can write it. I said, man, get out of here with that BS. You the man. This right here, what you gave me, this was your application. I accept it. References it all. You're on board. So he finally agreed to it, and started writing the book. And then where Danny Cooper comes in, Danny he was lettering the books. He always got the books, and he always would, he'd find something, or he'd always get some insightful critique about it or whatnot. Dang.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh. Carla must die. We don't condone that kind of those sayings, but
Thank you, JD. I appreciate that. So, and then once we really got moving with the comic book, we've had our pitfalls or whatnot. But once we really got moving with the comic book, we got signed to a publisher that really opened up some doors for us. Even though things didn't end up working out, we still made a lot of movement with that publisher, and I can't take that away from them. But when I got with that publisher, I immediately looked at Danny Cooper to come on board to do the letters. I've seen Danny's work and his work ethic, and that's the person I knew who I wanted to do the letters on the book. And as Danny did the letters on the book, he became somewhat of an editor, because he would catch things in the script, or he would catch things while we're lettering the book, and just stuff that I just didn't notice. And I was like, you know what, you just need to be an editor. You just need to be one of the editors, and let's get you in at the beginning of the process once we get the script and share through it. And our working relationship took some development, because we didn't know how exactly it should go. Right. Example with Vigilance #1, when that came out, we thought that script was golden. We were good, all drawn, all lettered, and everything. And we had somebody read it, like just a general person just read it, and then said, "Can I write on this to give you feedback?" I said, "Yes, go ahead," because we hadn't released it yet, and had all these questions about everything we just did. We were working with the idea that people already knew what was going on, and because when you're so invested and your head's just down and you're just working, right. Sometimes you don't pick your head up to look like, oh shoot, I need to give a little bit more context.
Right.
So that was a lot of work that we had did, and so we sat down with the editor at that time, the editor-in-chief of that publishing house at that time, and the advice of the other person that was asking all the questions. We sat down with them, and we literally tore every single page out of that Vigilance book, renumbered those pages, and then edited the text live there for like 4 hours, all 4 of us. And that's when we learned that we need to be involved in all the steps, like the layout steps, the script steps. Like we want to get what I literally call a layout script, where you just hit one or two sentences for each page that's going on in the book. Then go ahead and go into the full script. Then Danny and I will read it. Danny and I will confer, give some feedback to each other. Then we'll go back to the writer, all three of us sitting on a chat like this, on Facebook Messenger, and just, you know, going in with feedback, with things that we like, things that we think didn't work. Danny also he has just as much knowledge as Victor and I do on the FSK universe. So we know where we're trying to take things. That's what's very important to me with Danny as being an editor in chief. He knows exactly where we're going with this stuff, so he can help manage the 5 titles, and we'll be going up to 7 titles later this year. So going through that process, and then even after the script is, after we get the edits done on the script, then I'll go through and I'll do the layouts with the artists. I
want to stop you right there, only because I was doing a quote unquote master class, or, you know, one of those classes, and they were talking about the process, and I think that's a big part of the process. I don't think a lot of beginners understand is that you want to have thumbnails and pages laid out before that artist, you know, actually starts drawing pages, and it's a huge mistake, especially if the illustrator that you found is actually a good artist, but he's not all that used to the comic book creating process, and you're not used to the comic book creating process. You may totally blow by the thumbnail process, which will probably take up the lion's share of your time, because you would hate to have that artist go back and, you know, rework those pages, you know, after he's inked and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. We had an artist working on one of our books. I explained that we want you to do thumbnails before you get into it. And that artist did not particularly like doing thumbnails or whatnot. And I said, that's cool. You can go straight to the pencils if you want. Just be aware that if there's corrections or edits that's going to be needed, we will be asking you to redraw this stuff. That's what we're trying to avoid is, you know, I don't want you doing more work than you have to.
Right.
And it's a pain to have to go back and catch something that you could have caught with thumbnails or a real quick layout that you just could have seen, because you want to get an idea how they flow. Like I don't want to completely control or dictate how the artist draws, because the artist, I'm an artist, I know how it works. You may come up with something from reading the script that actually works better than what's written in the script, or you may be able to condense, you know, 3 panels into 2 or 1 panels with whatever angle or how you're drawing it. So I want to give you that freedom to breathe and work in that light, but I want to see it in the thumbnail so I can make sure that the story is flowing the way that it does, that we're getting all the important parts that we need to get. And again, a very, very crucial lesson that we learned. The new artist that's going to be taking over on Vigilance actually reached out and said he wants to specifically work with me on the layouts because he wants to push this book as good as we can possibly get it. So he just happens to be a fan of FSK and the books already that we do. So I was like, bet. I have no problem doing that, because the more work you do at the layout stage, the less work you do at the pencil and ink stage. You know what I'm saying? It just breezes through. And I've done co-op work with people where I've done half the layouts and the other artists have done the other half, and we mix and merge, and we just kind of see idea wise where things are coming from. And it's probably my favorite part of the process is laying out the book and coming up with those ideas, especially when I'm working with another artist or writer.
Real quick, I just want to reset the room. You're watching Black Comics Universe presented by Peep Comics exclusively here on The Experience. Please help us out by hitting share and giving us a like and a follow. The Black Comics Universe streams every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on all DSPs, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Because I want to, and I bring that up because I give you so much of a hassle about issue 10 of Hot Shot. I'm a fan. I've been waiting a long time, but I want to admit something to you, because I had some smoke for you my last show.
You did.
I don't know how it came up, but you came up, and I was like, why is this? So I feel this sucks. I really need to talk to Mike about this. The fact that no, because it kind of weighed on me because the more I've learned about comics, because we both teach comics, so I think that's a very unique place to be when you're actually sharing with young people the process of comics and how to create storytelling. That time thing, no matter, it doesn't matter what I think or about when the book is going to come or when it should get here and all that kind of stuff. Every creator has their own intimate relationship with time. You know, it's like how that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've learned that, especially when it comes to comics, you have to determine just very early on how you're going to stay in this game. Like, how is it going to look for you? It's like compared to, like you shouldn't come into it thinking like I'm going to be the next Marvel. It's sort of like you really should look at it as, okay, how is this business going to work best for me, and how is my business going to look? So if that means that, you know, Imani Latif be damned if issue 10 takes 10 years and issue 10 takes 10 years, but that's every creator's prerogative. They can come to that conclusion. But I've learned that time thing, especially in comics, really there's no way around it unless you've actually made it part of your actual marketing process. Like, okay, I'll do, like I talked to the Hills couple that have a webtoon, right? Unless you created something like for that platform where they're putting out something every week.
Right.
But when it comes to like 24, 60 page, 100 page, you know, graphic novels or comics, it's like there's no way around a lot of this time. And it almost works, you know, it's almost like you have to be willing to go through that. So all that to say, how do you, you know, stay in the game, keep yourself motivated, and sort of like, you know, look at fans like me and say, you know what, you'll be all right, and just keep plugging away at it.
Well, number one, you're one of the reasons why the Kickstarter changed the way that it did. So again, I'll be the first person to admit that I've fallen on my face in the comic book game, and you know, flew too close to the sun and my wings melted and I had to come crashing back down to learn my lesson or whatnot. I've even stepped away from comics for a couple of years to get my life back together after making, you know, mistakes. But when I got back in with a certain publisher and things were going good, and then when things weren't going good, I had to really sit down and kind of like figure out like where was I going to go from there. And luckily I came across another publisher came across and had everything that I needed for security and saying, hey, come sign with us. We've published books. We know what we're doing. And I've learned a lot under the label of Short Fuse Media Group. I've had my first 3 successful Kickstarters was through Short Fuse and their Kickstarter audience. So I picked up and learned a lot of things, and in a lot of talks with Danny Cooper, with Victor Dandridge, and a few other people, just trying to figure out what works best. I had a plan that did not work. I had another plan that kind of worked, and then this plan is going in the right place, but now it's leveled out. And that plan, with me being leveled out, has been put us in a situation where we haven't come in with a new issue of Hotshot in over 3 years. But we have other books. You know, like I said, we're doing 5 titles. I'm involved in a lot of different comic books right now, and my Chat and Draw show is substantially, you know, it's getting more popular and popular every time we do it. So our plan was to come out with this Kickstarter and just have it be the volume 1 trade, because we don't have a trade. And Hotshot's 10 issues in, we don't have a trade for it, and we're going to do a Kickstarter for that trade. My Victor and I had a very robust conversation about where things were and what he felt that we should do. You and Danny J. Quick have made calls on social media for the issue or whatnot, and Danny and I have had several conversations, and I promise y'all, it's not that we don't want the book to come out. We want the book to come out at the right time. But it did make us sit down and look at what we're doing on this Kickstarter. And the theme that I kind of got from looking back at it and what we were doing right now with the Kickstarter is going to launch is that we're frozen. Even though my idea for this Kickstarter is to launch the volume 1 and then go to a new issue and then launch the volume 2 and go into a new issue, there has not been a new Hotshot book in that time. So it feels like it's frozen and it needs to move. So a lot of talking, a lot of reorganizing, a lot of looking. So now this Kickstarter has gone from just being about volume 1, and we're going to do volume 1, we're going to do volume 2, we're going to make the entire FSK library accessible as add-ons. And if we hit the Kickstarter, if we hit the stretch goal of $10,000 on this Kickstarter, then we're giving you guys issue 10 right out the gate. If we hit the stretch goal of $13,000 on this Kickstarter, we're going to give you issue 11 too. So the potential is there to get both the books. And even if we don't hit those goals, my very next Kickstarter is for issue 10 and 11. Looking at what we've been doing, and I've been involved in a lot of Kickstarters. I've been involved in a lot of different books in that time. After this, Hotshot's not getting a 30-day Kickstarter anymore. Whenever we release a new issue of Hotshot moving forward, it's going to be like a 1 week, 2 week Kickstarter moving forward, that type of deal or whatnot.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So I wanted to do a 30-day on this because it's been so long since we've had a brand new entry in the Hotshot series. I want to get people reacquainted with it. Plus, I'm trying to put my big boy pants on and do the Kickstarter on my own page. I know the association because I'm with Short Fuse. I'm the publisher Short Fuse. That's still going to come, but I'm looking at it now as like I need to see how much of an audience I can build myself. That's one of the most important things that I've spoken with Sean a ton on. And when I came to Short Fuse, he made me realize when we did that first Kickstarter, he was like, all right, how much you think you're going to bring in? I was like, what you mean? How much you think your audience is going to put in on this Kickstarter? I'll tell you right now, where we're at, Short Fuse we'll probably do about 4,200 on a Kickstarter with the Short Fuse artist. So how much you think you could bring? I said, bet. Probably breaking in about 6,000 or 7,000. He said, for real? Okay, that's good. That's good. So what you want to say, just go 8,000, 9,000? I was like, bet, let's do that. And so I've had several conversations with Sean on a daily basis, looking at social media, how I engage, how it's interacting and moving with me. And through these conversations, I really started looking at my social media, and I realized I have people that like me, but do I have people that will spend money on me when I ask them to towards my book? And I don't necessarily have a lot of people that do that. I have a lot of people that support me, that like the post, that share the post, that engage with me, and there is nothing wrong with that. I appreciate every one of them. But when it comes to figuring out numbers for Kickstarter, I need people that will do that and spend money. And at that time, my audience was non-existent. So I had to go back up to Sean. I had to go back up to Sean and say, yeah, can we bring that budget down? I don't think I'm bringing that in. Maybe 1,500, maybe 15. Like, it really made me have to look myself in the mirror and figure out like what do I equate to dollar wise on a Kickstarter project. And so, but it also turned me around and made me really dig in on my presence. Like the convention audience, the comic book convention audience, the circuit, that's completely different from a Kickstarter audience. And that Kickstarter audience is completely different from a comic shop audience. And that comic shop audience is completely different from a casual fan. And then and mixing all that, you got your code sales and then you got your soft sales. And half the people that I talk to don't even know the difference in that or whatnot. And for those of you that don't, a code sale is just going up and pulling somebody over and saying, hey, buy my stuff, and convincing them to buy it, versus a soft sale, which is somebody that walks over with interest in your stuff and then you get the sale. And like, I had to really analyze and figure out what all that stuff is. Right. So, real
quick, I just want to say hey to Moana's in the house listening in. Oh, we got Ace Blade is already betting the 10K on your next Kickstarter. He said you spitting facts. Yep, he's putting it on wax 10K, which I I totally buy. And I wanted to get into the idea because you're speaking on it right now. Is that I've noticed that a lot of us are really looking at the landscape, especially with what happened during the pandemic, and we're sort of like revisiting our our business platforms, our business models, and sort of we're not necessarily following the big two, but we're taking some cues in the sense that a lot of us are transitioning into media companies. So like for instance, how and it's not just about the comics with you have like 2 or 3 podcasts. You're on social media night and day. It's like I'm on I'm on Facebook every Tuesday at 6. Mike Watson is on Facebook. He's on some type of platform every day. Yeah. At whatever time. It's like, either you either in your little man cave, or you might be at your breakfast table. I've seen you at restaurants. Right. So has it been like to sort of transition into being like a media company and sort of embracing this whole online marketing strategy?
It's been a bit overwhelming trying to balance the schedule, but with the pandemic and what the situation we're in right now, a lot of us creators have had to reshape and form who we are in this time. Because I feel like I was already making steps to be more present in social media. It was, from my experience, it was pretty easy for me to make that transition. I just need to figure out what that catalyst would be for me. And the catalyst ended up being Chat and Draw. And a lot of people can get behind that, because just on that show, I'm not just promoting myself, but I'm promoting other creators. I'm promoting other creators' projects. And to give you a look behind the veil, the audience I have that comes and watches it to say, hey, oh, Mike's a cool dude. Mike's funny. I want to see Mike draw. What is Mike going to draw this week? Well, now my audience is engaging with that guest that I have on the show. And then that guest audience who's coming to support them is now engaging with me. So we are sharing on that network. Right. I mean, I was literally talking about this with TJ Sterling last night, because we are his Kickstarter project, which is kicking all types of rare in right now, is going on. But TJ is going to be on Chat and Draw next week. And so we're going to do a shared print, a digital image. I'm going to draw his characters with mine's. If you donate to both our Kickstarters, you're going to get that digital image for donating to both of us. And, just trying to, figure out how we make those connections. And it has given me a lot of opportunity to conversate with a ton of people. Like I'm doing a crossover Kickstarter with Kat, doing one with Brian J. Lambert, and doing one with Charlie over with Spider Squirrel. So, I think, there's a lot of unsettled beef in the indie community, but I've noticed and seen since the pandemic has happened that's gone. Where's all that at? Like, I've just seen creators working together and making things happen. So we have to find a way to get our product out there, and we have to find a way to stay relevant. Even if we're not saying buy our stuff, we still have to be present. And where everybody's at right now is at home, and they're either streaming a TV show, or they are on their computers, or they're on their cell phones. You know what I'm saying? So in one of those 3 spots, I got to find a way to get a hold of you to let you know, hey, I'm still here. So you can, when I do things like Kickstarters, or I'm promoting other people's Kickstarters, people are like, oh shoot, Mike's talking about something. What is Mike talking about? Let's go check him out. Even if they come in for a few minutes and, oh, it's a Kickstarter, let me share it. Oh, let me pledge,
Yeah. And on that, speaking of, there's one of the images that I saw on I got a sneak peek of your Kickstarter. JD, can you pull up it's a list of all your comics that you have in the works, not just the Hot Shot, but we're laying out the entire Hot Shot universe, the verse of Hot Shot. Can you walk me through this, only because it seems like this is such a huge part of, it's not just about Hot Shot story, but you also have Vigilance, Emerald Quest. It's like, and I've always thought that, okay, this is not just about, what you came up with in your imagination, right? I think it's is this universe a response to what you saw at cons, and as far as are you creating comic books that are meeting the needs of fans specifically, or is this a part of, you know, you just woke up one morning and this is the next thing, you know, in the life of Mike from Hot Shot or Vigilance or whatever the case might be? How do you plan this all out?
Well, I will say it is 80% me just being a damn geek. I've just always wanted a universe of multiple issues interacting with characters. I like reading it in comics. I like reading it in manga. I like watching it in the MCU. So it's definitely something that I want to live and breathe in my own comic books. And then the rest of that percentage is that I wanted to make characters and books that everybody can relate to. So my goal when you come to my convention table or come see me online is for you. I want you to buy every single book, but I'm a realist. I know you're not going to buy every single book. So my goal switches from trying to sell you every copy of my book to not letting you walk away empty-handed. I need to have a title that speaks to you in one shape, way, or form or another. If you know, on average, when I go to comic book conventions, I have 1 or 2 people on average every weekend I go to a show that will actually buy every single issue at my table. I'm not selling to them because they're a fan. In the same way the MCU isn't talking to hardcore comic book fans with their movies, they're talking to the casual person that's trying to pick up, just trying to find something new and get into. That's the same vein that I'm working into, to a degree. So I know somebody that loves indie comic books, they're coming to my table. That's a soft sell. That's a soft pitch. I just got to get the right book in their hand, versus, you know, trying to get other people who are, you know, I don't know what I want to get. What am I looking at here? I'm trying to sway them over. But at the same time, when I'm trying to sway that person over, I'm talking loud enough to where the person that's 2 or 3 people away can hear me and them talking about that conversation or whatnot. And you know, trying to pull them in to that world. So I want you to be able to say, well, Hot Shot looks good, but that's not my type of book. I'm more of a person that likes ensemble cast. Oh, here's Heroes International. Or, you know what, I hate the way they portray women in comic books. When are we going to get a strong leading female? Oh, right here, it's called Vigilance. And if you're not into superhero books, I have a fantasy book where the main cast is female characters. So having a book that speaks to everybody, or to, you know, each person comes there. So yeah, you can get 3 issues, you can get 2, but I don't want you to walk away empty-handed, which is why we've expanded to the 5 titles that we have. And we have other books in the work called like Taijutsu Gates, The Wolf. Our Cypher series is kind of like just a melting pot of different little short stories with different characters in there. And, you know, the most important thing is that visually our characters speak to the fans, speak to the viewer, speak to the reader, because it's like, I know somebody that looks like that, or I look like that, or I move like that, or I have a beard like that, or, you know, I wear my clothes like that.
Oh, we got, you should be warned that Team Spoiler Alert got some good info. They said Ace Blade, Danny Quick has he's picked up some jewels. So don't be surprised if something gets leaked.
Hey, he's more than welcome to it. And he didn't see my text I sent him where I told him I got a pitch for him, and I'm surprised he has not said anything back to me yet.
Oh, see, people slipping. That's what. But I definitely gotta get him and Morgan on here pretty soon too. Yeah. You know, you were talking earlier about, you know, about falling on your face a lot, you know, making mistakes and stuff like that. What would you say? Not to say you don't necessarily have to divulge your biggest mistake, but what would, if you could tell, you know, a beginner, what would be the biggest mistake that you would have them try to avoid? Or what would be the biggest lesson that you would hope that they could learn before they got into this?
Not being present. Because there was a time where I just said, F it, I'm done. I'm just going to not be on social media. I'm just going to try to figure out things in real life, figure out how I can make that work, and not facing it. It sucks. It's not It's not fun. It's not fun at all. But even if people, disagree with you, even if people aren't satisfied with you or happy with what you're saying, the one thing they can't take from you is that you didn't run from it.
Right. And I like that response, because what I've learned is that it's interesting, since I've been doing this, like all these interviews with folks, the vast majority of them, right, that have found any type of success, it's been all within a 5 to 10 year window, close to a 10-year window for every single one of them, right? It's like now that the success that they're seeing now, it's like it took them at no less than 5 years, but for a good portion of them, 10 years, a 10-year run of consistency before they hit this particular mark where I'm talking to them about whatever, when I talk to Tim Fielder about his book, 10 years. When I talk to David Walker about his success, 10 years. Like that time is something about that 10-year marker. It's not so much as unavoidable, but it's like I find it to be pretty standard, right? And I think it takes a lot of patience to work your way through that. Like you're going to, I don't think a lot of creatives look at the process like that. I'll say, this is what I'm going to work this for the next 10 years. So sort of like a lot of them look at it like, well, if this doesn't work the first time, then I'm out. Right. So
yeah. You definitely you definitely got to have that Rocky Balboa in you to be able to get hit in the face and get back up. Like there is, like when I'm feeling low on energy, I don't know if a lot of people know who Lil Dicky is, but he had a TV show, and the last verse on the season finale, I will just turn that on, and that gives me juice, that gives me energy, that gets me back going. Or I will literally listen to the speech from Rocky Balboa, the sixth Rocky movie where he's talking to his son. I will listen to stuff like that, to keep me moving. It's I don't know, it's like seasoning. It's like when you're seasoning a steak or a pork chop or something like that, you've got to go through and learn the experiences. And I'm not saying it's not possible to come crashing right out the gates, because there are definitely people that have done that, and I'm fans of those people. It's one of the things that I teach when I do internships with CCAD is I would love for you kids to come right out of college, you're right the day after graduation, and get your full-time art job doing whatever the hell it is that you want to do. And you're making $60,000-$70,000 a year, and you're good. I would love for that to happen. And I'm not saying that is not a possibility. What I'm saying is you need to plan for it if it's not. And that's one of the crucial mistakes that I didn't do. I just so stubborn-headed and hot-headed that comics was going to be what I was going to do. I never stopped to think that what if I don't get a comic book job out of college? And that's exactly what happened. And then I got stuck doing a 9-to-5 job where, because of my degree, I got into a manager position. And I tried to force feed that for years to make that work. I tried to put my own spin on it, but eventually, like the scary monster in the movie, it's going to chase you down, and it's not going to be fun anymore. And if I'd have taken certain steps, if I'd have done certain things, I could have still been working in art as a whole until the comic book stuff started popping off for me. So that's it. It's time and it's effort. Of course, shoot for the stars, do your best, come out the gate hard, but always have that plan in the back of your mind for, all right, if this doesn't take off, I want to still do this, and that, so I can keep building up to it as I go.
It's interesting. We don't talk a lot about art school, right? It's like, I think so many people have so many different entry points into comics, right? I've noticed there's a lot of writers that are coming into comics, and there's, creating their first comic book. I don't think we talk a lot about illustrators as far as their entry points. It's like, I've met some kids here from Toledo School of the Arts that have gone on to CCAD, Columbus School, College of Art and Design, and they have an actual comic book program. And now, mind you, and that's the thing, this generation of kids, it's like in high school, I saw this kid's work in high school. He could have walked out of high school with a comic book job, you know. But he's going to, so I can only imagine what his process, what he's going to be like when he's coming out. And at the same time, my 12-year-old son is making comic books day and night. He's making manga, like, you know, on photocopy paper every night. So he's getting this, you know, with, you know, the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah.
He's getting that time in. And I've, what do you, what other advice do you give to young artists that are coming out of, especially out of CCAD? Like, you're like in a hotbed of talent, you know. It's like, what advice do you give to them, or what questions do they commonly ask you as a comic book creator?
They ask me a ton of questions. You know, the one thing I love and appreciate that CCAD is very open to the comic book genre. Like, I love it. I wish because the only reason I went to the school is because they had a comic book class. I saw that and I was like, I'm done. I put all my eggs in that basket. It's very exciting to see how much they've opened that door now to where it's a major now. Like, I would have died and went to heaven and loved that if I was there when I was there. But I also know there's still a lot of things, not to discredit CCAD, that they don't know about comic books and, you know, what you need to do to survive in that field. And I am very sure that as they grow, as they keep doing this year to year, they're going to learn more and more. They're going to open up the doors and get more people involved and whatnot. But that's one of the reasons why I do the internship thing with CCADs, because I don't want some high spirited, super energetic, happy go lucky college student going down the same way that I went and hitting the same bumps and roads. So when I do the internship, I take them everywhere. Well, prior to the pandemic, I take them everywhere that I go. If it's a comic book convention that's within distance, I take it to the comic book convention. I put them on the floor. I'll say for the first 3 hours, watch what I do. I'm not expecting you to remember every single thing that I say or how I say it, but I want you to take notes on what I say, and I want you to be able to say it in your own language. So watch me pitch and sell and how I bring these people up and down. Because I remember when I saw the CCAD table at a comic book convention, I walked past that table 15 times and nobody said nothing to me. Nobody looked at their heads. I even stopped at the table and looked at the art, and, you know, they were still drawn, and they were like, "Hey, what's up?" But didn't acknowledge me, didn't look me in the eye, didn't try to engage with me or anything like that. Then I walked past her table, knocked on the door, was like, "Hey, I'm doing a panel on convention presence. You guys should come check it out." Right. Nobody came. And so I did the panel, and I came back up with some another fellow comic creator and alumni, and I was like, "Hey, who drew this book?" "Oh, I did. "Oh, did you? Who drew that one?" "I did." "And that one?" And, they took responsibility for what they drew. I was like, that would have been nice to know the first time I came over here. I've been over here 15 times and y'all haven't said nothing to me. No one tried to sell me a book. No one tried to talk to me about it or anything like that. You realize you're at a comic book convention, right? Like, you understand, like, a comic book convention. And I don't think a lot of people do understand that. And I might be lucky and blessed to work with the people that I work with, such as a Moana or Danny J. Quick, Kat, Morgan, tons of people. Bren McKenzie, that understand that a comic book convention is an event. That is where we go to promote ourselves. That's where we go to engage with people, and not sit there focused on our commissions. But you have to be flexible to do the commission and be able to still talk to people. Because like, if I can't get a commission done, I'm taking that commission back to the hotel with me that night to work on it and finish it, or I'm coming in an hour earlier to the convention floor to work on the commission to get it done.
Real quick, only because we're almost out of time, but I will say this. Like we were talking about how much the community has grown this past year, especially. I'm gonna tell you what, I cannot wait to share booths or areas with y'all, Danny Quick, Morgan. The camaraderie that's on social media when it's actually physical in a physical space, like these conventions, these next 5 years of conventions built off of what was built here online.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bananas.
The
It's not gonna
conventions
be
don't
like,
even know. They don't even understand the.
I can't imagine. That's one thing I will say about the next like run of conventions is that I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine conventions being the typical conventions anymore, where it's like, okay, you got your table across from me. I'm at it somewhere else on the artist alley. It's like I can't imagine there will be a time where, you know, artists aren't sharing tables or sharing spaces or anything like that. It's going to be bananas this next couple of conventions. I promise you that. So real quick, we're almost out of time. Where can they find you? Where can they find your art? You know, web links, the Kickstarter, the whole 9 yards. Your outro spiel there, boss.
All right. Well, everybody can follow the Kickstarter at freestylecomics.net, and you spell that comics with a K. So go right there and hit that follow button. The Kickstarter is actually scheduled to launch Sunday, May 23rd at 1 p.m. I'll be doing a live chat and draw episode. But if I get 200 followers before Sunday, I'm going to launch the Kickstarter as soon as I get that 200 followers. And I think we're at 120 something right now. As far as social media, I've learned this thing called branding. I don't know if people have been paying attention to kind of what I've been doing, but I've been sharing the video on all my social media networks while we've been talking, trying to multitask. Okay. And it's Most Epic Art. So the most enthusiastic person in comics, Most Epic Art is my name across all social media: TikTok, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that good jazz. So you can find me there. And of course, you can get comic books from shortfusemediagroup.com. But I'm going to tell you right now, pause on that, get the Kickstarter, because like I said, we're giving trade. We're doing the volume 1 and volume 2 trade of Hot Shot. We have version covers for the trade, so variant covers on that. We have 7 alternate covers from Ren McKenzie, Seth DeMoose, Sean Hill. I've done a couple extra ones. Ryan Robinson's doing 2. Victor Dandridge is busting out the 8-bit art again for us. He's dusting it off.
All right.
That's
okay.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen 8-bit art, right?
All right. Yeah, this is really exciting, man. I appreciate your time, and it's always a pleasure. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because we ran out of time, honestly.
I know you asked the best questions, man. I really do. We
gotta do this again. So, on behalf of Mike Watson, I'm Imani Latif, creator of Peep Game Comics. Thanks, you guys, and we are out.